Mr. Speaker, will you please call the House to order?
The House will come to order. Bishop Elliott will offer a prayer.
Merciful God, through whom we see what we could be and what we can become, thank you for giving us another day. Send your Spirit upon the members of this people's house to encourage them in their official tasks. Be with them and with all who labor here to serve this great state and its people. Assure us and assure them that whatever their responsibility, you provide the grace to enable them to be faithful in their duties and the wisdom to be conscious of their obligations and fulfill them with integrity. Remind us all of the dignity of work and teach us to use our talents and abilities in ways that are honorable and just and are of benefit to those we serve. May all this day be done to your great honor and your glory. So we pray in the powerful and matchless name, which is above every name. Amen.
Amen. Visitors are invited to join the members in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A quorum being present, the clerk will read the Journal of Friday, May 13th. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to dispense with the further reading of the Journal of Friday, May 13th, and that the same stand approved.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, sir. In just a few minutes, we'll get to housekeeping and introductions, but I do want to note on May 16th, over the years, a couple of things have happened in history that people may find interesting. On this day in 1975, Japanese mountain climber Junko Tabei became the first woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest. She would later go on to become the first woman in the world to reach the highest point on each of the 7 continents. Quite an achievement. On this day in 1929, the first Academy Awards were awarded in Hollywood, California. That year's honorees included Best Actor Emil Jannings, Best Actress Janet Gaynor, and the romantic action film Wings won for Outstanding Picture. And on this day in 1866, Charles Elmer Hires invents the beverage known as root beer, first introduced to the public at 1876 Philadelphia Centennial Exhibition, and it became an instant sensation, much like us here, an instant sensation. Let me try to give some direction on schedule for the day. Members have on their desks a main calendar. There are 65 new bills on the calendar, and we'll begin consenting after introductions and housekeeping with calendar number 565. Our principal work for the day, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, will be to take up a number of bills associated with our Legislative Disability Awareness Day package led by Mr. Weprin. We will otherwise work from the debate list, which is on the members' desks, and the calendar. Majority members should note that there will be the need for a conference once our work in session has been concluded, and I will continue to confer with my colleagues in the minority to see if they have conference needs as the day progresses. So with that as a general outline, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, introductions at this point, and any housekeeping would be appropriate.
We will do a series of housekeeping issues first. On a motion by Mr. Wright, page 48, calendar number 573, Bill number 1787A, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Mr. Kim, page 53, calendar number 603, Bill number 6621A, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Ms. Mayer, page 55, calendar number 610, Bill number 9078, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Ms. Gunther, page 55, calendar number 613, Bill number 9188A, amendments are received and adopted. And for the purposes of an introduction, Ms. Hooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am honored and pleased to share with my colleagues today a person who's very special, not only to me, but to my community and to the state of New York, also the state of Virginia. The Reverend Dr. Philip Elliott serves as Deputy County Executive for Health and Human Services. Prior to his appointment as Deputy County Executive, Dr. Elliott served as Executive Director of Minority Affairs and prior as CEO for the Antioch Housing Fund Corporation and the Antioch Community Development Center Corporation. Bishop Dr. Elliott has been an ordained minister for 40 years and has been senior pastor of the Antioch Baptist Church, where I worship, in Hempstead, New York, for the last 16 years. Prior to that, he was the pastor of the Brookville Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, and the Antioch Baptist Church in Brooklyn. He has served as the Director of Administration for the Virginia Legal Aid Society, on the Board of Trustees of Virginia University, as Director and Faculty Member of Virginia University's New York Off-Site Campus, Secretary of the Board of Trustees for the Marcus Garvey Nursing Home, Incorporated, Chairman for the Ministers Alliance for the Development of Education, and Dean of the Congress of Christian Education of the Empire Missionary Baptist Convention and the Eastern Baptist Association of New York, Incorporated. He is the recipient of numerous community service awards of the Central Nassau Club of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women, the Family of the Year Award from the Brooklyn Council of Churches, the Unispan Award from Hofstra University, and the Humanitarian Award of the Black and Puerto Rican Legislators Association. That in addition to other numerous recognitions for his outstanding contributions. I wish to ask you, Mr. Speaker, would you extend the cordialities of this chamber and this House to my pastor, the Reverend Dr. Bishop Philip Elliott.
Certainly, on behalf of Ms. Hooper, the Speaker, and all the members, Bishop Elliott, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We thank you for all the work that you've done over your years, and most appreciative that you came and shared the word with us this morning. Thank you. Mr. Abate for a introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm very happy to have visiting us today the Brooklyn Asian Civilian Observation Patrol under the leadership of Louis Liu. For the past 2 years, the patrol has been working with the 6-6 and 7-2 precincts in Borough Park and Sunset Park. I'm working from the hours of 10 in the evening till 4 in the morning, patrolling those neighborhoods. And the crime rate has gone down over 10% in those areas for their hard work. And they're here today, and just some of the members, most of the men and women are still back in Brooklyn protecting us there. We did let a group come up today. And they also wanted to come up to thank the members here. Earlier this month, we passed a resolution in their honor, so if you can welcome them.
Certainly, and Mr. Colton on the same subject.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to add, my colleague Peter Abadi, Assemblyman Abadi, had mentioned some of the things that this organization has done, and they have served so well. So I want to add, my welcome and my good wishes to them. And not only have they been involved in terms of the particular Brooklyn Asian Civilian Observation Patrol activities, but they also have been very actively involved in many community organizations, involved in helping people in the community, and they really have played a very great role. So we appreciate their service and their dedication to making the community a better place for all of us. And I would ask that they be granted the privileges and the cordialities of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Certainly, Mr. Ortiz on the same subject.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also would like to join my colleagues and welcome this wonderful group of volunteers, auxiliary officers. I know every single one of them for the last 22 years, Mr. Speaker. I just to represent all of them. Now they are in Mr. Peter Abate and Mr. Colton's district. But the other thing that they do is they do a lot of humanitarian charity work. They do dedicate themselves. When the hurricane happened in China, these people was on the street collecting goods, items for the folks of China. When it's happening the other day in Ecuador, they was there doing for the people of Ecuador. So these people look for everyone to make sure that everyone be taken care of the service they provide, Mr. Speaker. I also would like to join with my colleagues to welcome them to the Assembly and give the courtesy of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Abate, Mr. Colton, Mr. Ortiz, the Speaker, and all the members, gentlemen, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We commend you on the work that you do serving the communities in Brooklyn and across this state. Thank you so much for that work. Thank you so much for your dedication. Ms. Corwin for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to interrupt the proceedings. I am so lucky today to have some visitors here from Western New York. I have with us the members of the 4-H Club. These are 4 delegates to the 4-H convention. They are from Erie and Niagara counties. And these are terrific young ladies. They were telling me earlier that they show horses and chickens and rabbits and all kinds of fun things. They certainly are getting a great education through 4-H, and these are going to be our future farmers someday, and so they're going to play a very important part in New York State's culture and economy. Their names are Isabella Thomas, Valerie Weisbeck, Anna Spoth, and Lily Berghorn, and they are accompanied by their chaperones, Tammy Cron and Kathy Bowers. So if you could please extend the cordialities of the House to these terrific young ladies and thank them for their work in agriculture.
Certainly. On behalf of Mr. Corwin, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome these extraordinary young ladies here to the New York State Assembly. This is the People's House. You are always welcome here. We extend to you the privileges of the floor, commend you on the work that you're doing with 4-H. Hope that you will continue it, and we do understand how important farming is to the economy of this state, and we count on you in our future. Thank you so very much. Mr. Weprin for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Majority Leader referenced earlier, we are today celebrating the 36th Annual Legislative Disability Awareness Day. And as chair of the Assembly Task Force on People with Disabilities, I am honored and proud to be co-sponsoring today's event. We had a ceremony earlier today, and one of our guests who I'd like to introduce received an award, the Dr. Henry Viscardi Award, for his work with the disability community, and that's Brian O'Malley. Mr. O'Malley is Executive Director of the Consumer-Directed Personal Assistance Association of New York State. And as I mentioned earlier, he received the Dr. Henry Viscardi Jr. Award earlier today. Brian's work has been based on the premise that by raising awareness of consumer-directed personal assistance and the issues that go with it, the visibility and strength of the program will increase as well. Furthermore, much of his time has been dedicated to making sure that the program transitions successfully to managed care. So if you could please give Mr. O'Malley your usual cordial welcome.
Also, Ms. Lipton on the same subject.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce several of my constituents who are here today, all of whom either work for, work with, or volunteer for Access to Independence of Cortland County. I'd like to introduce Chad Underwood, one of the executive directors, Harold Baker, Sharon Rift, Michelle Johns, and Michelle Walker, who works for OCM BOCES and coordinates on employment issues with Access to Independence. These constituents are here to meet with us and to observe as we do our disability package today. They are doing very important work in my Assembly district, Mr. Speaker, and I would appreciate your welcoming them to the Assembly chamber and offering them the cordialities of the House. Thank you, Mr.
Certainly.
Speaker.
On behalf of Mr. Weprin, Ms. Lipton, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome these distinguished individuals here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to come and share with us and to inform us about the difficulties that individuals with disabilities experience, hoping that we and you together can make this a better world. Thank you so very much. Mr. Weprin also.
Yes, I also have a very distinguished constituent of mine who's also up for Disability Awareness Day. He's actually been an advisor to me while I've been chairing the task force, unpaid advisor, and he's really been a strong advocate for the disability community. He hails from my district in Queens, Mr. Robert Rappo.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Weprin, the Speaker, and all the members, Robert, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly, and we extend to you the privileges of the floor, and thank you for being that consultant for Assemblyman Weprin and helping him stay abreast of the issues of the day. Thank you. Ms. Rosenthal for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to interrupt the proceedings. This week is Prevention Week in New York, and we continue to battle the heroin and opioid epidemic across the state. And there are some people here and groups who are active participants and committed to helping people get on the track to recovery. We have the New York City Prevention Resource Center, which is committed to decreasing negative effects of alcohol, tobacco, illicit drugs, gambling, and violence at the community level. The Prevention Resource Center is an information clearinghouse linking available resources to substance abuse prevention providers, local stakeholders, and community-based organizations. And we have Asari Ophiong and Sarah Redfield from the New York City Prevention Resource Center. We also have a few other groups, and I will let their assembly member, Santa Barbara, do the introductions for them. He will introduce the Hamilton, Fulton, Montgomery Council, and the Schenectady County Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. Is that right? Yes, okay. And so what's left for me are BOCES Educational Support Services, which provides programs to help raise student learning and achievement that are grounded in research and continuously benchmarked against best practices, all delivered by professional staff with expertise in myriad fields. And Laura Combs is the Deputy Director, and she's here with us today. So would you please do your usually warm welcome to these people who have come up to share Albany with us today. Thank you.
Certainly. Mr. Santa Barbara on the same subject.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Visiting us here in the Chamber for National Prevention Week, I have two groups from my district, the Schenectady County Substance Abuse and Prevention Coalition. The coalition's mission is to prevent substance abuse and promote mental and emotional and behavioral health. The council's efforts includes outreach, education, training activities throughout the community. We have joining us Pastor Richard Parsons, a member and longtime and very active community support member. D.C. Dunkel, member and young man who came from a great family tragedy to become a symbol of hope for our entire community. Lisa Karandi, a member and a parent of a young woman struggling with heroin addiction. In addition, we have from the Hamilton, Fulton, Montgomery Council. This council also works to prevent the abuse of alcohol and other drugs. They work with local schools and organizations in Hamilton, Fulton, and Montgomery counties. Their educators deliver evidence-based programming to students in grades K through 12 and their families. We have joining us Sean Flynn, Malik Hyde, and Alexis Orshowitz, also a student. Mr. Speaker, if you would add your welcome to these groups as well and welcome them to the chamber and extend to them the cordialities of the House. Thank you.
Certainly. Mr. Phillips Steck.
Mr. Speaker, I would just add to what Assemblyman Santa Barbara said. I had just visited with the Reverend Parsons at his church last week regarding a neighborhood development program. And I would note in this spirit of this that those people from Schenectady are certainly welcome to participate this Wednesday, May 18th from 5:15 to 8 p.m. There is a drug abuse awareness and prevention event occurring at the Village of Colony Family Recreation Center, 3 Thunder Road in the town of Colony. I thank them for attending today and, Mr. Speaker, for your gracious introduction.
Certainly, on behalf of Ms. Rosenthal, Mr. Santa Barbara, Mr. Philip Steck, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We hope that your time here in the Capitol has been beneficial. We appreciate you working for those who may not be able to work for themselves. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. Please be welcome. Thank you. Mr. Hawley for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great pride that I introduce some students, 7th grade students from the Kendall, New York area. And some of you may be wondering where Kendall is. It's up between Rochester and Buffalo, New York on beautiful Lake Ontario. And they've come down today with their teachers, their principal, and some parents, 7th graders from the blue and white Kendall, New York High School. So would you please welcome them with your usual gusto and effervescence to the chambers of this House? Thank you.
Monday's gusto and effervescence. Mr. Hawley, on behalf of Mr. Hawley, the Speaker, and all the members, ladies and gentlemen, we see you up here in the balcony. Welcome here to the New York State Assembly. You're extended the privileges of the floor. This is the People's House. You are always welcome, and as young people, we hope you will always participate in the governance of this state. Thank you so very much. Mr. Lopez.
Mr. Speaker, we're here as part of the Volunteers for Disability Awareness Day. We have some young folks who have joined us in the chamber, and Mr. McLaughlin and I will be introducing them. From my district, we have Clara Flores, Girl Scout from Earlton, Greene County. And also with her is the coordinator for the program, Linda Stephen, also of Earlton. And these young people put to work their motto of be prepared, and most importantly, do a good turn daily as they take their skills and abilities and make our honorees feel very welcome today. So if you could please give them the privileges of the chamber.
Certainly. Mr. McLaughlin on the same topic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to join with our colleagues and our colleague, Mr. Lopez, and welcome these fine Girl Scouts to the chamber, some from my district and some from Mr. Lopez's district. But as they say, they are girls of courage, confidence, and character, and we certainly welcome them here to the chamber today. Hope they enjoy the proceedings, and if you would welcome them to the House and offer them the cordialities, we'd sure appreciate it.
Certainly. On behalf of Mr. Lopez and Mr. McLaughlin, we welcome these Girl Scouts here to the New York State Assembly. We also extend to you the privileges of the floor and hope that your trip here to Albany will leave us with both courage, confidence, and capacity. Thank you so very much. Mr. Santa Barbara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to interrupt for an introduction. I'm very pleased today to welcome Reuben McWilliams from my hometown of Rotterdam. He's a junior at Mahonison High School there, and he's here today as a delegate representing the Schenectady County 4-H as part of a 3-day Capital Days program. Through the program sponsored by Cornell Cooperative Extension, student delegates like Reuben from across New York learn about state government, meet and interact with their legislators, and tell their 4-H story. It's also a chance for students like Reuben to learn about career opportunities in state government and to network with 4-H delegates from across the state. Reuben is a very bright, ambitious young man and has an interest in solving world problems. He was among a select group of students nominated to attend the World Food Prize Global Youth Institute in October of last year in Iowa, where he was joined by 200 other high school students from across the United States and abroad, researching global and food security issues in developing nations. This summer, Ruben was one of 120 students from around the world selected for the Association of American Geographers Global Connections and Exchange in South Africa. There, he studied the effects of climate change in the local populations. He's also serving his own community as an Eagle Scout. In 2013, he completed a project for the Boys and Girls Club of Rotterdam that was a garden to help stop erosion into the parking lot of that area. He is joined today by Schenectady County 4-H educator Bonnie Peck, who is joining him here as well. Mr. Speaker, if you would welcome them both to the chamber and extend to them all the cordialities of the House.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Santa Barbara, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome this extraordinary young man here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We salute both the work that you've done and your advisors in being there step by step with you. Hopefully you will continue this work, and hopefully your work will end up making this a better place to live. Thank you so very much. I believe we have Mr. Wright for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In our chamber this afternoon, we have a collection of mothers, grandmothers, family members, and supporters of justice. We have with us a group of folks that on Mother's Day, I guess about a week ago, who started out from Harlem and walked all the way to Albany. They did about approximately 20 miles per day, and they are marching for the cause of the wrongfully incarcerated. They are led by Ms. Sharon Salam, who is no stranger to this chamber and no stranger to any of us in New York City, as her son was wrongfully incarcerated as part of the Central Park 5 and was exonerated. So I just would like, Mr. Speaker, if you could give these heroic walkers, these heroic marchers, these heroic marchers for justice, give them all due privileges and all rights to our proceedings here today.
Certainly, on behalf of Assemblymember Wright, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We thank you for the work that you are putting in for those who may not be able to do the work for themselves. Thank you for that. Thank you for continuing to strive to make this state a better place and a more just place. Thank you so very much. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to go to page 3 of the main calendar and take up resolutions beginning with Assembly Resolution 1330 by Mr. Weprin, and I understand he wishes to be heard on the resolution.
Clerk will read.
Resolution number 1330, Mr. Weprin. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim Monday, May 16, 2016, as the New York State Assembly Legislative Disabilities Awareness Day.
Mr. Weprin on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As has been mentioned a number of times today, today is our annual Legislative Disability Awareness Day, and this is our 36th annual Disability Awareness Day. We have a number of individuals that have come up today, and we have a number of bills on the agenda that we will be discussing over the next hour or so, dealing with the disability community. But again, we thought it was very important that this officially be recognized by the governor as proclaiming today, May 16, 2016, as the New York State Assembly Legislative Disability Awareness Day.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Resolution number 1331, Mr. Tutone. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim May 16th through June 16th, 2016 as Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month in New York State.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Resolution number 1332, Mrs. Gunther. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim May 15th through the 17th, 2016 as the 81st Annual 4-H Capitol Days in State of New York.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Resolution number 1333, Ms. Malliotakis. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim May 15th through the 21st, 2016 as Hurricane Preparedness Week in the State of New York.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we could begin consenting now on page 46 of the main calendar. We're going to begin with calendar number 565 by Mr. Dinowitz.
Clerk will read.
Assembly 309, Calendar 565. Mr. Dinowitz, an act to amend the general business law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect on the 180th day.
The clerk will record the vote. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, sir. This is our first vote of the day, colleagues, so please cast your vote. And if you can hear the sound of our voices and are not in the chamber yet, we'd urge people to make their way to cast their first vote of the day.
First vote of the day, members. Please, if you are in your seat, cast your ballot now. If you're in the sound of our voice, please come to the chamber and vote.